Really means to live life golden. Yeah, we're golden, baby girl, we're golden. They're about to see us shine, 'cause we're golden.
Hello, my name is Jason North. I'm with Rocket Fuel Capital, and today I am going to give you my analysis and thoughts on the current ICO, the company called Cool Cousin. But before we get into it, full disclaimer, do your own research. The content that we cover should be used for informational purposes only, and this is not investment advice. So we're not a broker dealer, we're not an investment advisor. Take the full disclaimer to heart and use this information, but do your own research, as they say. All right, so what is Cool Cousin? The name confused me at first. Like, what is it? I don't understand it. But as I dug deeper, it makes a lot of sense. It's actually a pretty clever name. What they basically do, and I encourage you to go to the Apple iStore. I'm not sure if they have an Android app, but because I'm an iPhone user, but go install the app. This is one of the things I love about this company is they've got a real product in the world right now. 100,000 people using it a month. But install it and try it. It's super slick, and what it does is it helps you as a traveler find what they call cousins, sort of like tour guides, people local in the area that can give you the kind of inner viewpoint on what's really cool in that city. And so instead of falling into the tourist traps, somebody local is going to tell you about the really cool coffee shop that serves coffee with real maple bacon flavor in it, or whatever is just interesting in that area that you're not going to find out about otherwise. And so they call them Cool Cousins, and it is a really cool app. So first off, install it, try it, use it for yourself. It's not a clumsy app. The UI isn't hard to use. It is really slick, works, it's super responsive, very well designed. And there's no wonder there's over 100,000 active users every month right now. So that's what Cool Cousin is, right? They're in the travel industry and they help you with basic tour guides. Now, let's get into my ratings. So this is our deep analysis sheet. It's a 19 or 18-point analysis of both quantitative and qualitative data to form our base score, and that's here. So we've given it an 83%, and then what we do unique to anybody else, and I wouldn't be surprised if people start copying us on this front, is instead of doing one snapshot of a grade of an ICO, we let it sort of mature over time because there's always new information that comes out, whether it's a hack, something negative, or new press releases, which I'll talk about in the case of Cool Cousins. And as you get more information, it should influence the score and start to show a trend. And so as you can see here, you can see that we're trending upward over the last few weeks in our score of Cool Cousins, and now their current grade is 86%, which puts it in our sort of area of investable. The pros, or what we like to also call FOMO, are the following. Their branding is absolutely fantastic. Go to their website and click around for yourself, but it's very clean, it's very current and modern, it makes sense. Their messaging, everything is just really top-notch. Their iOS app, as I've already suggested, is super slick, works great. They've got a lot of users already. More than 500,000 people have actually traveled with it. They've also raised $2 million of funding from New York and Tel Aviv VCs. So that says a lot about them. They're fundable according to the strict requirements of venture capitalists, and they also have these people, very likely, I'm not sure about this, but this is typically the case, they probably have them on their board, and they're probably helping direct them, and these people want to see a return on their investment. So that tells you that they're seriously being managed. They've got a lot of great press in LA Times, New York Times, TechCrunch, which I'll touch on in a second. And the CEO and the CTO are great guys. I've collaborated with them directly. They're very responsive on their Telegram channel, or at least I got lucky to engage both of them. This was on a weekend, on a Sunday, and I was just really blown away by their hustle. So rare to see that, and that gives me a lot more confidence that the leaders, the founders of this business are super plugged into their own community. And that's relevant because they're a community app that relies on consumers that need to travel. There's a lot of sort of community aspects to it. So the fact that they're personally plugged into it is pretty cool. And when you install the app, that reminds me, one of the first things that happens is the CEO you get a message from him, and he's, you know, he welcomes any messages to him. So he's kind of an open door guy, which is really cool. They're building blockchain integration now to decentralize their community. Is their first reason why they're doing it, and 2, to introduce a reward system for the tour guide type people. And so right now, my understanding is it's free to use, free for tour guides, and I'm not sure what the incentives are for the tour guides to be tour guides. But this reward system, which will be a token-based system, is how they will start to reward them. So, so those are all FOMO or pros. The cons are it's a working product, but while it's in the works, there's no implementation of their blockchain yet available in alpha or beta state. That's not so great. I'd like to see that already done. But it's slight risk they may screw it up or whatever, but that's about all the FOMO or the FUD I could find. I guess the other thing I could say is it's a DApp play, which there's not a lot of success rates yet with dApps, getting up to like 100-time ROI or something like that, getting into what I call a jumbo cap or a large cap blockchain company on CoinMarketCap. And so, can they scale it really big from an investment standpoint to make it a great ROI? I don't know if dApps are able to do that yet, but I definitely think you're going to get a decent ROI on it. I'm targeting a 5 to 10-time ROI, which is still, I think, very fundable. These are some of our stats that led to the base score. I think what I'll focus on are the negatives. So these 2 areas they got dinged on. They're only giving or selling in their ICO 33% of their token supply, and so that we like to usually see more than that. I think it makes sense because they're reserving them for their reward system, but that means that over time their market cap can get diluted, their full market cap. So their ICO market cap at 19 million is pretty awesome, but over time it could be 60 million, maybe more, depends, right? And so not the end of the world, but they got dinged a little bit for that, and then not having a real positive response in the blockchain. In fact, I could probably update this to a 2 by now. I think that they do have a justified reason for a blockchain, or at least a 1.5. So that puts them, it only bumps them a little bit. But then we get into our logging system. So that's all our base score. And then we adjust up a % or 2 depending on what's going on. If there's really bad news, we might ding them a couple %. If there's some fairly good or negative news, we'll add or subtract 1%. And so I installed the app and used it and was super impressed. Like I'm pretty judgmental when it comes to functionality, user experience, UI design, things like that. And so I gave him an extra point for that. The point I made about the CEO and the CTO having a lot of hustle, there's really not anything in our grading system for that. So I gave him an extra point for that. No negative points so far. They haven't lost any points. They also have a press release that they're thrilled to welcome their new advisor, Pete Hancock. I'll jump over to that. I believe it is this one. Pete is the former VP of sales at Yelp. And Yelp's a super successful company in Silicon Valley. And so really good to see that they've pulled Pete over. I don't know if he was directly jumped from Yelp or not, but that was his background. And what he's really good at is scaling sales teams. And so, having this guy on board, VP National Sales at Yelp, to help figure out how to scale their revenue model is pretty fantastic. And so Pete's, they've got a whole article about it, and then Pete himself has written a Medium article about why he's excited about Cool Cousin, and I recommend you read it. Here you could say read Pete Hancock's full post and why he's excited. So, good stuff there, and I gave him a little bit more, another point for that. One thing I did learn that's potentially concerning, but I think also validating, is Airbnb now has got a possible competing product they call Trips. And this is the first time Airbnb has really started to expand beyond the home. And so good that what Cool Cousins is doing is being validated by Airbnb. Airbnb sees this as a really hot space as well, and they're getting into it. So that's validation. That's good. There's room for competition. Negative that they're going up against a giant Airbnb. That's possibly, they could lose a point. So I kind of gave them a point and took a point away, and so it's kind of a 0 some game there, a neutral stance on that, but it is noteworthy or whatever. So anyhow, that is primarily the extent of my thoughts on Cool Cousin. Full disclosure, I have pledged an investment amount on them based on what I found, and I do plan to invest. We haven't finalized our SAFT agreements or anything yet, but those are under works. So I'm not technically an investor yet, but I'm planning on investing a bit into this ICO. And so I'm just kind of clicking through to see if there's anything else. Here's some coverage they had on on TechCrunch last July about raising the $2 million from Elevator Fund. So definitely some good stuff about Cool Cousins. So I don't think I've got anything else to say on the Cool Cousin front, but mostly really positive and excited to see what these guys can do, and excited to see another mobile app get into the blockchain space and see how that performs. We're starting to see a lot more of these companies that have already been building stuff, and then they say, hey, what if we integrate blockchain? That could even enhance what we're doing and improve it. And the big question there is it justified? Are they just trying to tack blockchain on so they can raise money? And is it really necessary? Or do they really have a justified reason to do it? And I think in this case, a reward system definitely justifies re-architecting or implementing a blockchain solution into their architecture. And I'm excited to see how it works out, because if companies like this, and Data Wallet's another example, can be successful, then this opens up a whole nother sort of category of ICOs for the blockchain space, and that's exciting. So thanks for listening. Hopefully this was helpful.